Hello, LRHJosh44 here, and welcome to Madness Returns The Other End Creepypasta. This creepypasta is based off of Alice Madness Returns, a game I really recommend if you like Alice in Wonderland. It's about a weird ending and a weird level, without going into spoiling. Okay, well, here you go. Here's Madness Returns. As you all are probably well aware, I am quite a fan of the American McGee's Alice series. I love the Alice mythos for one thing. The original book and all versions of the movie hold a very special place in my mind and heart and soul, really. Obsessed much? I love the characters, the weird twisting expectations and pushing the boundaries of between possible and not. I guess that's kind of why I like it too. The two games, American McGee's Alice and its sequel, Madness Returns, only further deepen the level of complexity and wickedness the original novels could claim, with brilliant concept that Wonderland is actually a psychological nightmare Alice is suffering after she falls into a catatonic state. The imagery is much more violent and disturbing than the books, which were primarily intended for children, but to me it was an inspired step to mature the story and its meaning, as well as giving the character more perils to contend with, making the inevitable happy endings in both games all the sweeter to attain. Spoilers! But is there only one ending to the sequel, Madness Returns? Some of you might wonder why, if I enjoy the game so much, I sent it far away in the post recently. Well, as incredible as it may seem, I did so because the events I cannot fully explain to this day. I'm certain whatever it was I encountered is gone, or perhaps it would only haunt me since I've no longer heard other incident like this one I encountered. Bah. I do regret passing the game on to a close friend, but I kept telling myself that everything I saw, all of it, no matter how worrisome, is the result of some kind of one-time glitch in the programming, or lack of sleep, or just plain seeing things. Okay, grammar fixing 101. When you're making a list like sleep or just or something like that, better just leave it with quotation marks. Otherwise it gets a little boring. Let me think. I do regret... hold on, I read that. One day, I might convince myself as stands. Enjoy my tale, perhaps, for it is a strange one. But take it as a warning as well. Perhaps the looking glass looks both ways. Anyway, I bought the game at a Best Buy. Yay! Product placement! Why not? You could have just bought it off of Xbox Live. I am a fan addict of the series. In fact, all things Alice related. Wait, didn't you just clear that up with us? I even have a limited edition set of official Alice and the Cheshire Cat action figures another good friend of mine clued me into. The eBay auction was a fierce one, but I pride myself on devotion to fandom. That's why when the only copy of the game I could find had a used sticker on it, I paid no heed. Or you could have just gotten it for free when you bought Madness Returns! All the components, except the manual and those who read those anyway, seem to be there when the cashier checked it out before handing it back. I all knew for certain that copy was the last on the shelves, and it came at a hefty discount. Not bad. Perhaps arose getting home after, though. Why didn't you just buy it on sale? It would have been a lot easier than going to the store. The upstairs computer wouldn't run it, and I needed to borrow my brother's desktop to finally get it to work properly install. Wait, isn't this game available on Steam? It took a bit of cleaning too since the disc was scuffed, but nothing too terrible. Again, wait, isn't Madness Returns available on Steam? When the Moreau's violin music kicked in, I couldn't suppress a wide grin. It had been at least 7 years since I last entered American McGee's Twisted Wonderland, and now, at last, I could get back to the story I hadn't even dared hope would continue. It took a solid week of playing to get around the devious puzzles and pitched combat, but finally, I reached the end of the game. I got to what still has to be the scariest level I've ever seen in a video game, the Dollmaker's Domain. Spoilers! Something about that disturbing music box incessantly playing in the background and blood-stained surroundings of seemingly innocent children dolls and dollhouses making my skin crawl just remembering it. But all that had designed to scare so that there was a certain amount of distance to the spookiness, more like walking through a cleverly designed funhouse than any kind of real terror. Come on, that level wasn't even that scary. Until I walked into the dark sanctuary where the Dollmakers supposedly lurk. Now, I had several months previously seen the whole game as a walkthrough on YouTube. Yes, I'm impatient, but even still, I wanted the twisted joy of slashing my way through the game myself, even if I knew how to cut the scenes played out. Oh, come on, we've all done it. For instance, I knew the Dollmaker was in the room after the tough boss battle with 2 towering doll girls and tons of bitch babies. No, really, that's what they're called. Weird. I kept saving my roses in health for the final push to see that room, but it never came. I entered the doorway that would lead to the room right before the Dollmaker's hideaway, and everything went black. It stayed that way for much, much longer than normal until I almost rebooted my brother's desktop for fear it crashed. Again, isn't this game available on Steam? But the sounds of the computer were normal. The music had dropped out, but I guessed it would kick in as soon as I saw a familiar red pocket watch that would indicate the game was loading. No, the pocket watch was black. At last, the pocket watch appeared, but something looked off about it. After a while, I noticed the hands were turning backwards, and then I felt an involuntary shudder as some of the red of it began sliding down the black screen. This wasn't an animation I recognized at all, especially the way that red line dripping from the watch actually began to collect just at the bottom of the screen and does not miss the frame like a raindrop. Fine added atmosphere, I suppose, but I was very thankful when the game finally flickered. Yes, flickered back to life. Yay! Subliminal messages! But here again, something seemed very wrong. The music was gone entirely. I quit to the menu and squeaked in shock aloud, to my shame. Oh, come on, I've squeaked a lot. Oh, boy. The model of Alice in the menu was Eyeless, bleeding tears. Chalk quiet model she assumes when she enters Hysteria. This was very odd. I hadn't entered Hysteria recently, and even if you do, the model in the menu doesn't even have a skin for it, to my knowledge. I hurriedly checked the sound options. All the levels mute were above mute. So why was there no music? I listened. I don't know, it could be that your computer is overheating. There was something but it was barely above a whisper. Almost a low hissing over sound of the speakers. Fiddling with the volume tabs did nothing to make it louder. I put my ear up to one and listened hard. It did sound very much like many people whispering on a loop, their voices echoing. Betrayer! Betrayer! I wouldn't let this game's weirdness throw me. This must be something like that level in Arkham Asylum, or Scarecrow guesses you and start the game to make fake glitches just to mess with your head. Spoilers, I never even played Arkham Asylum! Try not to look in Alice's empty sockets. I returned to the game. The whispering continued. Even more confusingly, Alice's model in the game was not her stereoform, but it was her doll dress either. She was now inexplicably in her iconic blue dress. I moved forward. Whatever this was, I wanted to get through it as quick because this was getting on my nerves. You know, you were really getting on our nerves. Really, I needed some enemies to fight to break the tension, and I knew as soon as I entered the center of the room, with the platform mounted by 2 chains hanging from the ceiling, that I would instantly be attacked by lots of ruins. But, try as I might, search as I could, there wasn't a single enemy there. The architecture was the same in the last room, but no triggers activated, no cutscenes, nothing. This was irritating. In order to even get to the doll maker, I needed to kill the enemies to make the stairs appear. The thought of just quitting here after all this work to get to this was too much. I figured I'd give the game a little more time before I decided whatever fatal problem had come up would make progress impossible. Then I saw him. Initially, he was in the shadows because of that, and I figured it couldn't be who it looked like. No walkthrough I'd ever seen had the White Rabbit show up in this level. He's not even in the game. But when I walked Alice over to him, that's indeed who it was. Same model. Only different because he cast no shadow. But White Rabbit's not even in the game. He's only in the beginning cutscene. Okay, now I'm getting a little suspicious on if you even played this game or not. This must have been one heck of a bug. I had seen some pop-up, and he had a few clipping errors in his previous levels, but I never seen a character spontaneously appear in a level he didn't belong in. He doesn't even belong in the game! Much less the level! More disturbingly was the fact that the soundtrack had now a pounding heartbeat in it. I'm not sure how long that had been going on. It happens when you are close to dying. Suddenly, Alice stopped in her tracks and a cutscene began. The black bars appeared beneath the screen and the rabbit turned to stare at Alice with unblinking eyes. He spoke and the voice was unmistakably his voice actor. But the tone was so plaintive, so sad. I never heard any recording of this scene, so I listened with rapt attention. "Why?" Rabbit said, voice almost something. "Why did you do it, Alice?" Alice threw her head back and laughed. My hands on the keyboard were shuddering. After everything else, this was the worst shock. There was no humor in that laugh. It was worse than the maniacal cackle of the Queen of Hearts, because this was joyless, cold, and piercing. Then the cutscene ended. I regained control, and the White Rabbit drew his sword cane and lunged. I was so shocked that I lost 3 hearts before I realized this was actually a battle. Wow. Really gripping. In a daze, I turned back to on the menu, just so the images would stop. I saw that the objective to find the doll maker was gone, replaced by another objective. Kill the White Rabbit. I felt ill. Brilliant. I rarely played a game that made me want to quit for good, step away and be done with it forever, but Alice too had gotten to that level. This was sick. Before, the only way to be rid of this was to finish it. I was convinced if I didn't, the rabbit's words would haunt me forever. I got out of the menu and went on the attack. The pitiful creature didn't just grunt when Alice struck him. He yelled horribly, dancing in pain. At last, Alice started in with the vocal blade for the final blow and struck the rabbit's head clean off. For decapitation! The stairs appeared that were supposed to have when I'd killed the last of the ruins and the girl dolls. What could have I possibly done to make the white rabbits the second to last boss? Really, at that point, I should have quit Madness Returns. Okay, grammar error. Madness Returns was weird and dark and gory. Again, if you're going to make a list, you don't have to put "and" between every word. Enough without it playing these sort of games. You mean horror platformers? Minus the horror part? Somehow, even the bloody massacre scene in the Walrus and Carpenter level couldn't compare to how I felt seeing this headless body of the white rabbit lying on the floor. Somehow not dissolving like all other enemies had. It must have been my imagination, but I thought I saw him twitch. I jumped up the stairs and felt now I would finally get to the doll maker and end the game. Aren't you forgetting the final boss part? But again, I was very frustrated, baffled, and very worried. See, like that. You fixed your grammar error there. The cutscene of meeting the doll maker began to play, but there was no doll maker to be seen. His original model took up most of the room, but for some reason, not only was he absent, but so was any decoration or anything beside. It looked like an unfinished shovel, a great big wooden room. Still, the camera played out as if it was introducing the doll maker and Alice walked in on cue. But she said nothing and there was no response. When the camera cut back to Alice, she was wiping the vocal blade off on her dress. Another animation I'd never seen before. And for some reason, there was no door behind her. Then I heard him before I saw him. "This is all your fault, you know." The camera cut back to where the doll maker might have been if the model hadn't managed. It was the wrong angle to see him properly, but by the camera I can make out Cheshire Cat sitting and staring at Alice. The camera cut back to Alice's face close up. Something about her blank expression that close made me shudder. Back to the high angle, I was certain this was programmed, since I could only see half of the cat and he was in a weird slant. "I will not let you destroy us," the cat said. It was definitely the real voice actor saying the line. Then I had control again and the cat was dodging around in front of me. I pressed the targeting button and it focused on him as if he was an enemy, not willing to believe my own eyes. I flipped to the menu again and saw the new objective right below the other that had been crossed off. Kill the Cheshire Cat. What the hell? I quit and attacked him out of desperation more than anything else. He animated like the real thing, and his attacks and special moves corresponded how I imagined the Cheshire Cat might actually maneuver. For instance, he would vanish, then reappear, then sneak attack or lash out his claws and tail. Someone had to be programmed all this to happen. And how come I never seen this before? Not on Wikipedia, not on YouTube, not in any forum I can recall. It didn't help that he was the hardest enemy I'd ever fought. His speed was nearly double Alice, and he took down 2 Rose's health with each slash. I had to spam the vocal blade that was troubling to say the least. Each slash drew out a yellow furry from the animal until at last the Cheshire Cat fell, weathered, and fell in a still awkward pose like the rabbit. He didn't dissolve and he didn't close his eyes. That accusing yellow slit pupil glaring frightened me, even though I knew this was all just a game. Another cutscene? How many glitches can you name have this many? Sonic 06 has a lot of glitches. Spyro Dragonfly game that I forget the name to has a lot of glitches. So there's a lot of games that have glitches. This time it was even weirder if that was possible at this point. The cutscene showed Alice entering one of the little doors that led to a memory of her childhood. After killing the cat in cold blood, I don't recall, no matter how hard I tried, doing anything or pushing any buttons before the scene Alice entering the burning doorway. The pocket watch returned. It wasn't bloody, but loading was backwards underneath it. Then the screen flickered again, and herself had replaced Alice's model as a young girl. Every other memory door I'd entered had played a cutout style scene showing Alice remembering the events before the fire. This time, though, it seemed like a whole other level. The young Alice model was actually standing in her own room, the colors muted by a nightmare out of the windows. I found myself pondering why all this effort went into making a level based on Alice's childhood, if it wasn't part of the main game. She had no weapons and no objectives in the menu. I really had nothing to do but wander out the door to the hall. Now there was an incessant ticking of a clock in the background. It looked like there was nowhere to go but the stairs, but I'm too experienced in games to go the way the game tells you to go without looking off the beaten path or items. I didn't even think you had to have experience for that. The hall above the stairs had two other closed doors and a bathroom. The bathroom could be opened fine, nothing was in it, but when I approached the other doors, a young girl's voice, presumably young Alice herself, said, "I shouldn't wake Mommy and Daddy," at one, and "I shouldn't wake my sister," at the other. Dead end. I went to the stairs past the foyer to the front door, still marveling at the details of the house level, which I've entered now yet to see in screenshots or videos. At the front door, Alice stopped dead and said, "I have something I need to do." One other door was open. The library. Maybe now I'd be able to leave this memory and continue the game. Maybe, I hoped fervently. Quit using words I don't even know the meaning to! The game would have worked out its glitch and gone back to normal. The library looked exactly as it had in the pre-rendered cutscenes surrounded by Mr. Little's photography equipment, only it was all rendered in 3 dimensions like the rest of the game. There was nothing to interact with. I could see, so I moved the fireplace to investigate. For only a moment, I saw a button use the interact command. I kept searching for it around the library with no success, until finally I walked back to the fireplace. Then I saw it clear as day, and my heart sank. Burn down house. It took me a while to select the interact command. When I did it, and didn't enter a cutscene, I just lost control and looked on in horror as young Alice took out a flaming twig and tossed it into the flammable equipment. Then still in third person with the heads-up display still on, young Alice pulled down some books, opened one, ripped out its page, and then set fire to the pile. All while she's made this horrible, demented, giggling, singing to herself as the flames caught the shelves and began to roar in the ceiling. I couldn't move. I didn't know what was going on, especially when the screen flashed red and Alice began to take damage. Her model actually caught fire in a way it made Alice might as if Alice was burning from an enemy attack or hazard. Eventually, the Rose health counter reached 0, but there was no death animation. The screen just slowly faded to black. It stayed that way for 10 minutes. Timing! I wish my brother had been home, or anyone at this time, so I could have had the comfort of another human. Some kind of connection with the real world after all this. Abruptly, there was a loud screech. The kind a computer generally makes when the drive is corrupted or a music file is skipping. This was so loud I flipped the speakers off, and I felt like I had a headache afterwards. The screen flickered, stayed dark, and then turned on again. It looked like the ending of the game this time, the proper one. The melding of London and Wonderland loomed into the sky as if everything had played out the way it was supposed to. I turned on the sound. No music, just distant humming like insects. I noticed the models on the screen were moving, the flowers swaying, clouds shifting, etc., but the camera wasn't. I couldn't see Alice or anyone, just Wonderland, London, or Lunderland, as it's known. I didn't even know it had a name. Then, I heard a light thud and shifting of gravel. When the sound repeated, I recognized it as footsteps. Alice was approaching the screen from far away. I jiggled the mouse, trying to change the camera angle, but it stayed fixed. Alice continued to walk at a deliberate pace, expressionless as ever. I actually drew away from the scene when she leaned over and looked directly forward, as if trying to meet my eyes. Then she smiled. When I closed my eyes, I could see that smile. "You must be," she said, enigmatically, "or you wouldn't have come here." It sounded like the voice actress, but only for some reason the sound quality made it seem closer than usual than speaker sound. Then her eyes went strange, blood red entirely, but with slit pupils. Her smile broadened too far to be natural. The image froze, and over the speakers came a rising howl that just seemed to get louder and louder, like someone in mortal agony. I punched the start button hard until finally the computer mercifully shut off. I was quivering like a leaf when my family got home. I tried to explain what I had undergone, but I figured it would sound crazy. "You're way past that. You're insane." Probably still doesn't even after. I've gotten the courage to write it all down here, but as I say, it was probably just an unlikely series of game issues and my own overactive imagination. Either that or the scariest video game alternate ending it's ever been in my misfortune to see. Before you ask, I have no idea how I managed to manage the alternate ending to manage returns, and I never intended to try and repeat it either. And that was Madness Returns the Other End. It was stupid. Very stupid. Because it had a lot of graphical errors. It had a good setup, but failed at the end. It had a cheap-ass ending. And it spoiled way too much for people who haven't even played the game. And that could be a problem. Very huge problem. Because as a reader, you don't want to get anything spoiled unless you don't care for a game you haven't ever even played. Heck, you even spoiled other games like Arkham Asylum. I'm serious, I never even played it. But why would you do that? That you just spoiled something that might have ruined it. Why? And the story was even, and you needed to fix some of your problems within the story, and it just ended up becoming like a boring read, and really too long, and it overstayed its welcome. So just overall, just stupid, but a lot of spoilers. Annoying spoilers. Alright, see you next video. Bye.